Hello students, today in this class we are going to discuss in detail about the mammary gland totally. One question also will not be the mistake you will do after listening this class actually here. Okay, so now let me discuss with the mammary glands. Mammary gland is also called as burst actually here. There the paired will be present, right? In the paired will be present, and they are present in both the sexes, both in the male also and as well as in the female also. But in the male it will be the vestigial, right? It is not functional, but in the female it is a functional to feed the babies actually here. They are the modified, this is important NCERT line again here, right? So they are the modified structures of the sweat glands plus exocrine glands here. So the mammary glands are the modified structures of the sweat glands and endocrine glands, because everyone knows that in the female body the burst development will be happen after the puberty here, right? After the puberty, whatever the hormonal changes is happening in the female body, that makes to modify these glands and to form like as a burst region or the mammary gland in the female body here, right? After the puberty only the mammary gland will be able to develop. That is one of the secondary sexual character in the female body, we can say. Okay, now these mammary gland structure in detail we will discuss. The mammary gland is made up of with the three tissues beta. The first one, NCERT has given everything. The first one calling it as glandular tissue. The first tissue is a glandular tissue. Every point I'll show in the diagram. My lectures I'm sorry, right? My lectures will be totally based upon the diagrammatic way, where every student can also able to remembrance plus at the same time understanding also very important beta. NCERT, in the NCERT it is there obviously, we can read on with the NCERT here, but remembrance is very important. If you see something visually here, no, in a diagrammatic manner, easily you will remember. That is what I am trying to help the students, that every point of NCERT to be get remembered in a diagrammatic way. First one, glandular tissue here. Second one calling it as connective tissue. The mammary gland is made up of with the three major tissues. One is a glandular tissue, one is a connective tissue, one is the adipose tissue. Adipose tissue. So NCERT has given this point also. Adipose tissue is present, there is nothing but the fat, right? So variable amount of fat is present, right? Actually why the NCERT has given this point, that is a variable amount of fat actually, right? Variable amount of fat will be present in the mammary gland, NCERT has given, because the adipose tissue, that is a fat storage tissue, it will be get decreases or maybe the increases based upon the storage of the fat only. The burst size will be get increases and the decreases actually here. Actually if I can consider now, the estrogen hormone will play a major role to increasing the burst size and to decrease the burst size here, because the amount of fat, how much it is stored, the enlargement of the mammary gland will happen. The amount of the fat storage is less, that's what NCERT has given, the variable amount of fat actually here. And fat if it is less, then the mammary gland size also will be the less. So the majorly the mammary gland is made up of with the three tissues. One is a glandular tissue, connective tissue and adipose tissue. Now first we will discuss about the glandular tissue here. Okay, now if I consider now, this is a burst region where the NCERT diagram only will discuss. If this is a NCERT diagram, like in this way NCERT has shown the ribs here, that's a side section, right? These are considering it as a ribs, right? In between the ribs, there are some muscles are present here, right? Have you remembered in the breathing and exchanging of gases, we'll discuss this point, right? The muscles which are present in between the ribs, we'll call it as a what? In between, coastal word is using it for the ribs actually, right? Inter means between the ribs the muscles are there, so that we are calling it as a intercostal muscles, right? Have you remembered there are again two types, external intercostal muscles and internal intercostal muscles, right? These are the muscles, and in front of that there will be some muscles which is holding this burst region, right? We'll call these muscles name as a pectoralis major muscles, right? Actually this pectoralis major muscles will be get attached with the help of the ligaments, calling it as a suspensory ligaments. Here the suspensory ligaments will be present, beta, right? So because wherever in the body, beta, in the female reproductive system also I told you this point, ligaments are the structures which will be hold the organ to the body wall actually here. So here also the suspensory ligaments will be present, right? Because of the help of these suspensory ligaments, this burst region can be held by the body of the female. Clear this point here? Okay, so I'm not writing this one. These are the suspensory ligaments. Okay, next, in front of the suspensory ligaments, after the suspensory ligaments, this is the body of this mammary gland, we can say. In the body of the mammary gland, it contains the three tissues. Just now I told you what are the three tissues here. Now there is a glandular tissue, connective tissue and adipose tissue. Now first I am discussing about the glandular tissue here. This glandular tissue, whatever is present in the burst region, beta, it will be having some structures are present. The first structure, each mammary gland will be having a mammary lobes will be present, like that. In front of that there will be the mammary lobes will be present. Okay, so let me write in the next page the sequence actually. The first one, that is a mammary lobules. Mammary lobes will be present. There are nearly 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present in each burst, right? Each burst region, it is having a 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present, like that. I have drawn only the 5 over here, but like that mammary lobes nearly 15 to 20 will be present in the each burst, beta. Okay, and now these inside to these mammary lobes, right? Inside to these mammary lobes, there will be a alveoli will be present, like that. These are, what are the structures I am drawing on the board? These are the alveoli, right? So alveoli will be present. So actually this alveoli, which is made up of with the cluster of cells, we can say, right? Like that cluster of cells will be present. These are the alveoli. Okay, next one, this mammary lobes will form the alveoli. Don't get confused with this alveoli with the breathing and exchanging of gases of the lungs alveoli here. So these are the alveoli, which are the cluster of cells. Which cells will be there here? Epithelial cells will be present, right? Epithelial cells will be present. Okay, these are considering it as a mammary alveoli. I hope so. Let me write it in a proper way. Full name of this one. By that, much more clarity will be there. Oh. Array. Mammary alveoli. Okay, these mammary alveoli is also better in the each lobe actually. In the each lobe it will be the 1 to 3 will be present, right? 1 to 3 alveoli will be present in the each lobe actually here. Okay, after this mammary lobe, right? Mammary lobe, inside that mammary alveoli will be present. Now this mammary lobe will next it will form the next part calling it as a mammary tubules. Now look at here, I am drawing the mammary tubules here now. Each alveoli will arise as the mammary tubules like that. All these are the mammary tubules like this. Each lobe will be having a alveoli. Each alveoli will arise as a tube-like structures calling it as a mammary tubules actually here, right? So if it is a one alveoli, one mammary tubule will be get arising here. Like in the same way, this each mammary tubules will merges together and it will form say one more duct actually. Consider here now, like in this way. All these, if it is a two mammary tubules or three mammary tubules or one mammary tubule also, out of the mammary lobe, whatever the duct is arising beta, whatever the duct is arising, that duct name we are calling it as mammary duct. I think so you got the point here now, right? The next point what we should write it here is a mammary duct. Mammary tubules will form the next duct-like structure calling it as mammary ducts. Mammary ducts. Mammary ducts are the structures, tubes arising from mammary lobule or lobes, arising from the mammary lobes. Okay, these are the mammary ducts. So first mammary lobe is present, inside that alveoli is present. Alveoli will arises like as a mammary tubules, but mammary tubules 2 or 3 will join together, they will produce a one duct calling it as a mammary duct. Mammary duct is a tube which is arising from the mammary lobe actually here. Now these mammary lobes, right, these mammary lobes is going to be get enlarged here now, wider. This point has given in the NCERT, right? These mammary ducts, it will become enlarged somewhat like this, right? It will become enlarged somewhat. This enlarged portion of the mammary duct, right, we'll call it as a ampulla, right? Now next point I am drawing here now, mammary ampulla region. Okay, the next, this will mammary duct will widen their tube to form the mammary ampulla. NCERT point again here now, I am writing this one. Ampulla is nothing but it's a wider part of which duct here now? Which duct beta? Mammary duct, right? It's a wider part of the mammary duct actually here. Okay, if we consider now a mammary alveolar region beta, it is a place for the storage. I'll show you this one in detail also. Storage of milk. Storage of the milk. Okay, now the mammary ampulla. Now this mammary ampulla will leads into a next part, right? The mammary ampulla will leads into a next part, a next duct, calling it as lactiferous ducts. I hope so you are getting the differentiation very clearly. Please remember with the help of diagram, you never will get forget these points, right? Lactiferous ducts. Now these ducts which I am drawing here, these are all calling it as a lactiferous ducts. Okay, now let me write in the next way, next sequence here. Lactiferous ducts. Mammary ampulla will leads into the lactiferous ducts. Lactiferous are the ducts which will carries milk from lobe to exterior of burst region. Clear these points here? Okay. Now these lactiferous ducts will leads into a last part, calling it as nipple region. Let me discuss in the nipple in detail. Okay, now look at here, this is a region calling it as a thing where the nipple condition, here the nipple will be present, right? Okay, this will be get attached with this, all blood vessels will be present, here all the areolar connective tissue will be present. Okay, so here the areolar tissue will be present. This is areolar tissue made up with the blood vessels. This one we are calling it as a nipple. Okay, so look at here beta. Mammary gland, also considering it as a burst here. Now the mammary gland is made up of with the three tissues, we said it here. The first tissue calling it as a glandular tissue. Why it is a glandular? Which type of gland it is now here? It's a exocrine or the endocrine? It's a exocrine here because it is secreting their secretions out of the body, isn't it here? So the whatever the milk we are secreting, that's out of the body here. So it's a exocrine secretion beta, exocrine gland actually. This is a glandular part. The glandular part of the mammary gland is made up of with the first lobules will be present here now, right? How many lobules will be present in each burst here? 15 to 20 lobes. I'm sorry, it's not lobules, it's a lobes. NCERT only will discuss here. It's a lobe actually, right? 15 to 20 lobes will be present. Now each lobe beta, look at here again, right? Each lobe, this is a lobes actually. 15 to 20 lobes will be present in each burst region. Each lobe inside it is having a alveoli will be present, right? These are the alveolus. Alveoli is made up of with the, it's a cluster of cells beta. Which cells actually here now? Those are the epithelial cells. If I consider now this is alveoli here now, right? All these are the cells. Inside that we'll call it as a lumen beta. This one we are calling it as a lumen. Lumen of the alveoli is the place where the milk synthesis is going to be happen here, right? Milk synthesis will happen by these epithelial cells actually, and they will secrete this milk into this lumen of alveoli. NCERT has given this point here. The lumen of alveoli is the place where the storage of the milk is going to be happen by the synthesis of the milk from these epithelial cells here. Okay, clear this point here now? So this is a alveoli actually here, right? Next, after that alveoli, it will leads to form a duct, calling it as a what duct here? No, mammary tubules, right? So next duct calling it as what? Mammary tubules. Okay, these mammary tubules will join together, right? Mammary tubules will join together and they will form a one duct beta, calling it as what is this duct name here? No, what is the duct name here? No, mammary duct actually. Mammary lobes enters inside the mammary lobe, there will be alveolus. Mammary alveolus will form a mammary tubules. Mammary tubules join together to form a mammary duct actually. After the mammary duct, it will have some wider part of this mammary duct. This wider part we are calling it as a what here? No, ampulla. Right, the wider part we are calling it as a mammary ampulla. The wider part of the mammary duct we will call it as a ampulla. Ampulla is also one of the place where the milk can able to be get stored better. Excess amount of milk secretion if it is happening. Of course, here also the milk storage will be happen here, but NCERT has given here. But excess if it is there, the milk can also be get stored in the ampulla region here. Okay. Next, after the ampulla, the next it will forms like as a what here? No, lactiferous duct. It will form like as a duct-like structure, calling it as what? Lactiferous duct. It carries the milk from lobes to the exterior part actually here, and thereby it will go and attaches with the nipple region here. Got the differences of every point here, right beta? Okay, sequence will be asking in the exams actually. Sequence you have to get remember. Now let me discuss some points about the nipple region here. Okay, so if I consider now the nipple, right? If I see this nipple in the front side, okay, assume now this is a opening hole, pore, calling it as a nipple. Around that beta, around that there will be some glands will be present. All this is a tissue actually. Assume no, the front side here, this will be the tissue, right? Like this, there will be some glands will be present. First let me write some points about the nipple. It is a hemispherical structure which is surrounds with which tissue? Areolar tissue. Surrounds with the areolar tissue. It's a multiporous region of the mammary gland. Okay, it is having with the smooth, it is made up of with the smooth muscle. It is made up of with the smooth muscle, we can say. Surrounding to this nipple region beta, there will be a highly pigmented will be present. right? Highly pigmented. What do you mean by pigmented actually here? Means the region of this nipple will be the darkish in color will be present, right? Starting of this lectures also I told you that our body will not have a same equal color actually. The genital regions and the nipple region will be the highly pigmented. More melanin will be present where it appears like as a very dark actually. Highly pigmented will be present, right? And this nipple region surrounds to this nipple region better. It contains a gland. Okay, let me write it here, calling it as sebaceous glands, right? Sebaceous glands which will secrete the sweat. And very important that around to that there will be a receptors will be present better, right? These receptors calling it as tactile receptor. There is a touch receptors actually. These touch receptors only will be helpful a lot for the sucking of the milk for the baby actually better, right? When the baby is going to be catch this nipple actually, the touch receptors which is present, they will become activate and they will send impulses to the hypothalamus of the mother. By that she will release the oxytocin hormone. By that the ejection of the milk is going to be happen. We'll discuss about the hormones also. I think so. Structure of the mammary gland you understand here clearly, right? So mammary lobes will leads into mammary alveoli. Mammary alveoli will leads into mammary tubules. Mammary tubules will together form a mammary duct. Mammary duct will leads into mammary ampulla. Mammary ampulla will leads into a lactiferous duct. Lactiferous duct finally it will leads into a nipple region here. Okay. So first tissue we completed better. There is a glandular tissue where it is a exocrine secretion where it will secrete the milk actually here, right? About the hormonal we'll discuss here now. Now the next one calling it as a connective tissue. Look at here better. In that connective tissue where it is present, right? In between this glandular part better here, right? So whatever the white colored structures which I am drawing here now, right? Here there will be a connective tissue will be present. All these things, right? It will be the connective tissue will be present. So these we are considering it as a interlobular. Is it right? In between the lobes they are present actually. Interlobular connective tissue, right? Interlobular connective tissue. This is a second tissue which is present in the mammary gland here, right? Interlobular, in between the lobes better. It need to be connect each other. So interlobular connective tissue will be present. Now the next thing here, right? The next thing, third type of a tissue, right? Which will support the alveoli and the duct. Let me write this point also. Supports alveoli plus ducts, right? Next, the next part, that is a adipose tissue. Here we completed the connective tissue. Next, adipose tissue. Adipose tissue will be present to the this region better. Here all the adipose tissue, here all in between that, here all the adipose tissue will be present, right? So based upon the amount of the adipose tissue, how much amount of the fat is present, the size of the burst is going to be decided. Can you see here very clear this point better? Every point of NCERT and with the diagrammatic manner I have showed you here now, that three types of tissues. Glandular tissue we completed, connective tissue and the adipose tissue here. Am I clear these points here? Okay. Next, functions of mammary gland we discussed. Now the next thing here is, that is important hormones of the mammary gland. This is very important, but everyone please understand here. The first hormone, that is a prolactin. Second hormone, that is progesterone. Third hormone, calling it as estrogen. Fourth hormone, that is oxytocin. About these four hormones you should have an idea actually. Now let me discuss first about the prolactin hormone. Everyone knows that prolactin hormone is the hormone which is helpful for the synthesis of milk, right? Synthesis of milk is nothing but क्या बोलते हैं, production of the milk or the formation of the milk. So synthesis of the milk, where it will happen here? In the alveoli cells. Alveoli cells are present in the where? Mammary lobes, right beta? Prolactin is also considering it as a PRL. Prolactin hormone is a hormone which is helpful for the synthesis of milk in the alveoli cells. Just now I told you here, alveolar cells are the cluster of the epithelial cells. This is a place where the milk synthesis will happen actually, and that will be get released into the lumen of this alveoli. That is the function of the prolactin hormone here. Now the second hormone, calling it as a progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone which is helpful for the proliferation of alveoli cells, right? It is helpful for proliferation of alveoli cells, because we know that progesterone is the hormone which is maintaining throughout their which is maintaining in the mother's body at the time of pregnancy actually. So at the time of pregnancy, around in the 8th month or maybe at the end of the 7th month or 8th month, this progesterone hormone will also do the which function here? Proliferation of alveoli cells, because increasing the number of the alveoli cells can be done in the mammary gland at the time of the pregnancy. It has started at the time of pregnancy only here, because if the number of alveolar cells are increased, only the synthesis of the milk, because now next she is going to become as a mother, right? Now she has to feed the fetus, she has to feed the baby actually. So the body is preparing that to increase the alveolar cells for the synthesis of the milk here. So progesterone hormone will be helpful for the proliferation of the alveoli cells. Okay ma. Next, the third hormone, calling it as a estrogen. Estrogen, how it is helpful in the mammary gland, right? Every month we know that we are going to be secrete this hormone, calling it as a estrogen. So this estrogen will be helpful to increase the adipose tissue, right? Just now we told that adipose tissue is storing the fat actually here. The amount of fat, if how much it is stored, that decides the burst size actually, you know. So estrogen will be helpful to increase the adipose tissue, that is the storage of the fat. And the last hormone, calling it as a oxytocin. Everyone is aware about that one, right? So which is helpful for the ejection of the milk, right? Whatever the milk which is synthesized in the alveolar cells, that is because of prolactin beta, it will be get stored in the lumen of alveoli also. If it is excess, it is there, it is in the lactiferous gland. Understand this 4 hormones carefully here, no? So mammary gland, first the prolactin hormone, then that first progesterone hormone. Progesterone hormone, when the mother has became a pregnant actually, around in the 7th to 8th month, the progesterone hormone will acts upon the mammary gland to increase the number of the alveoli cells here. Now when the progesterone increases the number of alveoli cells here, next the prolactin hormone, after the delivery actually, the prolactin hormone will synthesize the milk which is in from the alveoli cell. After that, the milk will be get stored in the lumen, and it will be also be stored in the lactiferous duct also here. No, later on the estrogen is a hormone which is able to be get increase this adipose tissue or the storage of the fat in the burst region. And finally, whatever the stored milk, if it is present, because of the oxytocin, how this oxytocin will be get released here? So as just now I told you that in the nipple region there will be a tactile receptors will be present. When the baby is going to be get touch this nipple actually, as the nipple is going to have this tactile receptors, these touch receptors will be get activated, and they will send impulses to the hypothalamus to synthesize the hormone, calling it as oxytocin. Thereby the oxytocin hormone will releases and acts upon the alveoli and the lactiferous duct to eject the milk actually here, right? These are the 4 hormones what you have to get remember. Okay, so look at here beta, prolactin, progesterone, estrogen and oxytocin. These 4 hormones are very, very important about the mammary gland. Now let me see the last point some here, that is mammary glands are functional in the female, right, which are the vestigial in the male. Vestigial is nothing but which is a rudimentary here, right? Second one, the burst in the females are smaller in size up to the puberty. Yes, up to the puberty it is smaller in size, but once the puberty is reached, once the attaining of the sexual maturity is happened, then it increases the size of the burst beta, because of the hypothalamus will started synthesizing the hormone called as GnRH actually. Then the third thing, burst size will be increases during the pregnancy, because the progesterone hormone is maintaining it throughout the pregnancy actually, and plus after the pregnancy also, because of prolactin will be get, just now I told you progesterone hormone will be increases the alveoli cells here, prolactin hormone will synthesizes the milk actually here. Clear this point? And then at the time of cancer conditions beta, when the burst cancer is present, the burst can be get removed from the body actually. That process we will call it as a mastectomy actually. The removal of the burst in the female body will call it as a mastectomy. Clear? Every point of NCERT we clearly discussed here now, right? Mammary glands. I am revising very fastly here. The mammary gland here. Mammary gland is also calling it as a burst region. It is a paid will be present here now, present in both the sexes, but it is vestigial in the male and it is functional in the female here now. And these mammary glands are the modified structures of the sweat glands and as well as the exocrine glands. It's not the endocrine glands. It's a exocrine glands here now, right? So after the puberty only these structures will be, these glands will be get modified actually here, right? Each mammary gland is made up of with the three tissues better. One is the glandular tissue, second one is the connective tissue, third one is the adipose tissue. In the glandular tissue is the tissue which is able to be get synthesize the milk. So in the glandular tissue we discussed this sequence actually here. When I consider now this is the ribs, in front of the ribs there will be muscles called as pectoralis major muscles will be present. The breast is attached to the thoracic cavity, right? Of course the mammary gland is present in the thoracic cavity by a ligaments, calling it as a suspensory ligaments. As in the glandular part, the mammary gland is having with the structures like as the first tube-like first structure which is present in each burst region, that is a mammary lobes. Beta mammary lobes kitne hate? 15 to 20 will be present. Each mammary lobe will will be having a mammary alveoli will be present. Alveolus are the clusters of the cells which are made up of the epithelial cells, right? And the storage of the milk will be happen in the alveoli. Synthesis of the milk also will be happen in the alveoli because of the which hormone? Prolactin hormone, right? Mammary alveoli will forms some duct-like structures, calling it as a mammary tubules, the tube-like structures. All these mammary tubules will merge together to form a mammary ducts. Mammary ducts, the milk will be transporting from mammary lobe to, that is the tubules arising from the mammary lobes to next part, that is a mammary ampulla. A mammary ampulla is a wider part of the mammary duct, we can say. Mammary ampulla will leads into the next part called as lactiferous duct. Lactiferous duct is a duct which will carries the milk from the lobe to the exterior, plus it can do the storage also better. NCERT, remember this point, NCERT has given the storage of the milk in the alveoli, but if excess is there it can also stored in the, excess is there, it can be stored in the where here? Ampulla, right? Because it is a wider part here. Now the lactiferous duct will leads into the nipples, okay? Nipple parts we have discussed here now, right? After that we discussed that how the connective tissue will be present, that is the lobular connective tissue which will support the alveoli and as well as the duct to be get, because it will be 15 to 20 will be present. It need the support. And we discussed about the adipose tissue, that's a variable amount, right? Remember this point, NCERT point, but here the question will ask you variable amount of the fat will be present in the mammary gland here now, okay? So this is the structure. Then after that we discussed about the functions of mammary gland, synthesis of milk, secretion of the milk, secretion is nothing but release beta, right? And the ejection of the milk. For these three functions, the mammary gland needs the four major hormones. One is a prolactin, progesterone, estrogen and oxytocin here now, and these are the some points here now, right? So every point of NCERT in the diagrammatic manner we have discussed it very clearly. I hope so you are understanding these classes. Thank you.